Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Energy News Beat Daily Stand-Up. My name's Stuart Turley, President and CEO of the Sandstone Group. Michael is out at a family office investment type thing. I think this is absolutely outstanding. It's great to have him speaking out there. It is going to be a lot of fun. In fact, I'm hoping to visit with RT and Michael while they're on the trip. This will be a lot of fun. But let's start with our stories. China discovers limitless energy source that could power the country for 60,000 years. You gotta love that one. FBI probes for fraud in Biden's EPA of $20 billion in a green fund giveaway. If you didn't hate your government bad enough, it gets even worse with this one. But if we kill the IRA subsidies, we'll slash debt, lower costs, and it will restore energy reliability. This one was a really good article as well. There's a lot to this next story. Can Germany revive its industry without cheap industry? Pretty cool. A story from oilprice.com. Republican controlled Congress votes to repeal methane fee. This is the really big one, and it's the tip of the iceberg, so to speak. And then I just want to do a real quick one. Can Trump force Ukraine to accept a peace deal? We all saw what happened last week with President Zelensky in the White House, and I think he actually crossed the line, and he really should apologize, but I don't know that he's smart enough to do that. But let's go to this first story here. China discovers limitless energy source that could power the country for 60,000 years. This is really an interesting story, especially because this is a thorium that they've discovered in Mongolia. Scientists estimate the mining complex could yield 1 million tons of thorium if fully exploited, according to the South China Post. This is exciting when it's the 233 thorium-rich zones across the country, and if accurate, suggests that thorium reserves in China significantly exceed previous estimates. Now, from a technologically standpoint, the thorium cannot be used in normal uranium reactors. However, they're molten salt reactors. They also produce significantly less nuclear waste and remove the risk of nuclear meltdown by keeping the levels of fissile material relatively low. This is new technology, and I couldn't be happier that this kind of discovery is out there. The Chinese have one huge advantage, and that is they can print money. They can also make regulations, and they can also determine if it's the will of the Communist Party, they're going to do it. So I really hope that Trump's plans with the EPA and Lee Zeldin and cutting all the regulatory things, that we can get some of our molten salt reactors rolling and get some thorium reactors. I really enjoyed my talk several years ago with the CEO of the Copenhagen Atomics, and they were looking at that. And then you've got other ones. There's a molten salt reactor in Abilene, Texas. So it is being done. It's just not fast enough, but I think it is absolutely phenomenal. Let's go to the next story here. The FBI probes for fraud in Biden's EPA $20 billion green fund giveaway. This was over at the Daily Caller. And when you sit back and take a look, Zeldin has said he will attempt to pull back as much as the GRF cash as possible, and President Donald Trump campaigned aggressively against the Biden administration excessive green spending. This is crazy how bad the funding is. And it's just we're waking up to even more billions that have been spent. Specifically, FBI agents reported interviewed an EPA employees this week as a part of an escalating investigation. The Greenhouse Gas Reduction Fund, the GRF, a $20 billion program, awarded billions of dollars to green groups loaded with Democrat donors and insiders. I think this is a mission for Doge. Get after it, Doge. So let's go find some of that bucks. I'm kind of tired of it. Killing the IRA subsidies will slash debt, lower cost, and restore reliable energy. This one really, if you don't really understand how much the Inflation Reduction Act was porculous, and I love Dan Bongino for the way he calls it, was porculous. Congress has the opportunity to fulfill Donald Trump's pledge to terminate the Green New Scam, aka the Inflation Reduction Act. And the numbers are just staggering. Each lobbyist falsely claims they're good for America. Well, they're a lobbyist. They're trying to get a paycheck. Credible estimates show the IRA will include the Inflation Reduction Act, or as Diane Bongino would say, the Porculus Bill, will cost the budget over $1 trillion over the next decades and trillions more after that. Doge, take note. These trillions can be cut and it won't cost the American people, but hugely benefit them. Goldman Sachs, quote, IRA subsidies will redirect 11 trillion to green infrastructure by 2050. That just makes me airsick when you think about the trillions of dollars that have been spent on green energy. And the only thing that is happening right now with green energy, and we're seeing it playing out in real time with Germany, and that's coming up in this next story. Can Germany revive its industry without cheap industry? So Germany used to be the poster child for what used to be green. They've had 2 years of negative growth. Their GDP has fallen again in 2024, another 0.2% for the second annual contraction in a row. Take a look at Russia. Russia, even with its sanctions and a war going on, they had a 4% increase in GDP. That is tells you the whole difference is they're using oil and gas, natural gas, nuclear, coal. They're using all the above. Take a look at Texas. Texas is using all the above. It's using wind, solar, but it's also using natural gas. It's half the cost of New York or California. So is it something that we're making up? No. Facts matter. Cyclical and structural pressures stood in the way of better economic developments in 2024. Ruth Brand, president of the Federal Statistic Office. These include increasing compensation for the German export industry, key sales markets, high energy costs, interest rates that remain high, and uncertain economic outlook. Against this backdrop, the German economy contracted again in 2024, and they had no wind for 4 months or low wind for 4 months with high electricity prices for consumers and their industry. If they don't get low cost Russian natural gas back, I don't know that they're going to be able to recover without slashing jobs. And once you start slashing jobs to the level they're talking, it is difficult to ever regain that back. They are at a pivotal point. And as I've talked to Doug Sandridge many times, they cut their nuclear plants down. That's cheap power. In fact, Doug, he had an outstanding article on it would be the least costly way forward for them is to fire up their nukes again in order to get a low cost energy to their manufacturers. But you got to have natural gas for some of the kinds of manufacturers just because of the way it works out. So anyway, let's go ahead and go to the next story here. Republican Methane Congress votes to repeal the methane fee. This is really pretty cool. Considered a tax by the oil and gas industry, the fee was one of the previous Environmental Protection Agency's final measures to force producers to slash methane emissions. That is the wrong way to slash emissions. Repealing the methane fee is the latest in a series of pro oil and gas Republicans have taken since the start of Trump's term. Let me point this out. Texas has reduced its flaring. If you cannot get a pipeline when you are drilling a new well and you cannot get a natural gas pipeline there, you have to flare it just because if you're drilling for oil, natural gas is a byproduct. But if you've got a pipeline and you can capture it, you're off and running. Guess what's up in the back of the in the Marcellus or the Pennsylvania area? They can't get pipelines done up there because of, guess what? Green policies. So you're talking New York or that kind of area, you're not going to do it. Guess what Texas has done? They are building pipelines and they're cutting flaring. Why? Voluntarily. And they are doing a fantastic job with the regulations out of the way. So, Texas leading the charge, New York, you'll never be like Texas, and maybe someday you can be like Texas. I'll probably get a few negative comments about that one. But Republicans are helping out absolutely the worst offenders of methane leakage, said Senator Sheldon Whitehouse of Rhode Island. And please, when you need to understand before you speak, you're an absolute funny guy, and I do not think you know what you're talking about. But anyway, this last story, can Trump force Ukraine to accept a peace deal? I just want to say that this stunt that went on in the White House was absolutely sad for the Ukrainian people. The Ukrainian Congress actually approved the minerals deal for President Zelensky to sign. All President Zelensky had to do was show up, and he had 10 senators tell him to smile, say thank you to President Trump, and sign the minerals deal, and other guarantees would be done in the process. Well, it turns out I don't know this to be a fact, but there is enough evidence to show that he has tried to sell those mineral options and interests to the EU and the UK. So maybe that's why he threw a fit in the White House, because he's already sold them to other people. It's a little bit weird, and he's not doing the Ukrainian people any favors. So hats off to President Trump and Vice President Vance. And I'll tell you what, I saw Marco Rubio, Senator, or the our Secretary of State, and hats off to him. He handled it he was very shocked. And watching the Ukrainians ambassador to the United States with her head in her hand, she knew how bad President Zelensky was acting. He was acting like a spoiled child. So, in this article, General Flynn, Zelensky, this is a quote from General Flynn, and I love General Flynn, by the way. Zelensky should be immediately escorted out of the White House and immediately exported back to Ukraine. What a despicable piece of do this person is. How dare he speak to the President of the United States and have the people, after all we the people have done. And then you have Nick Freitas. I absolutely love Nick. Nick is just a cool cat. And he puts on X. I didn't realize the Oval Office had a woodshed. And then from a President Trump account, El Donald Trumpo, we did send the little guy tossing. It was actually funny. And then you have SD Palti. Zelensky just got free proctology exam, will technically cost 350 billion. She is a class act, but a little humor in with a very sad day for the Ukrainian people, because President Trump is not a man to be reckoned with. I would not want to play chess against him, and he deserves the respect. I watched the whole thing, and quite honestly, President Zelensky, if you watch this podcast, I doubt you do, but old Brett Baird tried to throw you a lifeline, and you couldn't even handle three lifelines from Brett Baird. That was just pathetic. Anyway, I hope you have all a great day. By the way, Reese Consulting, we love Reese Consulting. I'm going to be doing live podcasts with Steve Reese over there. We've got other ones coming up. We've got lots of great shows coming up. Hey, thanks. Have a great day, and we will talk to you all soon. Check out Reese Consulting if you're in the natural gas space. We love everything they've got. I've got a whole list of things I'm going to start talking about this week of projects they got going on. Have a great day. Talk to you all soon.